everyone, my name's Nari, and as a continuation of my series where I write these pocket pieces, I wrote something influenced by the funk genre this week. Thank you to Paul for suggesting this idea. As a classical musician, I wasn't exposed to funk music until very recently, so first I had to spend some time deliberately listening to some recordings. Here are a few things I took a mental note of. There is a very strong emphasis on the downbeat. The overall subdivision of the pulse is made up of even sets of notes instead of odd. Oftentimes, a short pattern made up of an odd number of notes is repeated and scattered over this pulse. And lastly, the harmonic direction generally seems to want to sit comfortably in its place without moving in too many directions. I tried to keep all of these things in mind for my piece, but I wasn't so strict about keeping a steady pulse, a form, and was only able to try to imitate the sort of attitude that leads to an authentic groove. Before we move on, here are some additional remarks. First of all, last minute, I decided not to go with the clavinet sound, but with the Wurlitzer sound with the guppy effect, the wah effect. And I did that because I'm not used to the clavinet sound and I'm not used to the way it feels and sounds. And I was having trouble hearing certain pitches the way I wanted them to sound with the clavinet sound. And I think it's just a skill and a touch that I just haven't acquired yet. The type of strokes that you need to do to get that slap sound, I'm not familiar with, and it was just hard for me to do. Also, sustained notes, I didn't like how it sounded with the clavinet. I much preferred the Wurlitzer. And quite simply, I just preferred the Wurlitzer sound for this one. Also, because I'm very inexperienced when it comes to funk music and new to the genre, it's just a bit awkward for me to improvise some bits. Because I'm just unfamiliar with that kind of style where you're prioritizing rhythm and focused on the groove. And there's just this attitude that I'm very unfamiliar with. So that was a challenge, but also very fun because it was a learning experience. And in terms of filming, it was very fun because first of all, I was at the park with Bobby and I'm never at the park, so it was a nice experience. But it was pretty challenging because of a few things. The first thing was the keyboard setup because I should have brought something to elevate my keyboard, but because it was near the ground, I ended up putting a towel there, but it was still low. Because it was low, it was really hard to play. The second thing is that there were quite a few people that kept walking by and asking me questions or talking to me.
I have all kinds of lines. I don't know how that's gonna
Which happens pretty often when I do these videos, but not as often as today.
Yeah.
Okay, now here's the other thing. If you're using a tripod...
Also, I was having some battery issues with the keyboard today. Usually I put in a fresh set of batteries before I do something like this, but today I just didn't. And the thing about the keyboard is that you can't tell when the battery's low. The only signal it gives you is that maybe 5 minutes before it's done, it'll start to glitch, and that was happening. Luckily, I got in a few more takes before the keyboard died, but that was a little bit of a concern. It was my fault. I should have put in a fresh set of batteries. And now here's the final piece. 땡큐. 바비 데리고 공원에 갔지. 영상 찍고.
친구들하고 뭐 안 먹고?
아니 친구들이랑 오늘 친구들이 없어요. Hi, Bobby. Hello.